All right, look at the camera and let everyone see your pretty ears. Sit your ears up. Oh, hi, everybody. Hey, small wildflowers. Good morning. It's the Sunday before Thanksgiving here in the United States. And there's a lot going on. It's so good to see you, girl. How you feeling? Okay. For those in playback, good morning. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here today with your weekly horoscope and tarot reading. What I'm going to do is go through the transits this week, and then I'm going to do a spread for each sign, starting with the birthday month. Sorry, I got distracted. Good morning, Outer Spice. Weird, my handle changed to my page thing. That's weird. I don't know what that means exactly. There's Lulu. Yes, let me tell you, this little girl has some interesting quirks. For no reason, I was sitting on the pot the other day and she just jumped up in my lap. Good morning, Les. And then, like out of nowhere, I heard some rustling on the bed and I came in and she was doing spins and zoomies on the bed. And then she was, a couple of days ago, she was on her back, squirming around, digging in the pillows. She's funny. She was moving the blankets with her teeth. She's a funny girl. Did I tell you guys? I ordered a DNA test. We did the swab, and it's in process right now. And I thought it would be really fun for the audience, if you're interested. I would offer, hey, little grasshopper. Hi, just call me C. I would offer you guys to guess what Lulu's breed is. Hold on, let me get her to look in the camera. Girl, you got to show your ears up, right? You got to show them what they look like when they go like this. You look shy. But what I thought is you guys could guess, and then the person who comes closest could, I'd give them one free question, and I'd do a spread for them. So I don't know if you guys are interested in that, but I thought it might be a little fun to do and a way of welcoming her into the tribe in good fashion. So let's talk about the transits this week because, all right, let me just back up a little bit. Maltese Poodle Terrier. Okay, this is the thing. You have to email me your response. You can't put it in the chat because what I want to do is collect them all. And I can't go through the chat. I just don't have the bandwidth to do that. So email me. The email's in the info at Teri Hunter with your guess. And be specific about the type of terrier because there's many kinds of terriers. There's a Cairn Terrier, there's a Parsons Terrier, there's a Rat Terrier, and I know she's got that in it. So, and that way, if you win, I can email you and let you know and announce it on the show, and then we'll schedule your question. So, this is her face. These are her gorgeous eyes and her funny little ears that sit up like this. Skinny little thing. So, okay. Now let's talk about the transits this week, okay? Because, all right. Every time I start, I can't even tell you how huge these times are. So I have this thing about history, and I've had it for the last couple of years. I love watching shows on history on PBS, and there's a series on the American Revolution. And what we never think about in the American Revolution is that the unrest started 20 years before the actual revolution did. Now, I bring this up because Pluto was in Capricorn in the years preceding 1776. I don't know if it had a 20-year stint, but it would have been going through Sagittarius, okay? Then it would have been going through Capricorn before it hit Aquarius. And we know that in 1776, that the United States has Pluto in Aquarius in the second house. I believe it's the second house in Placidus, Sagittarius rising. I say this because when I was watching this documentary, the things they are talking about are literally happening now. I mean, of course, we're not dealing with the Stamp Act and we're not dealing with taxation in the same exact way, but we are, the themes are the same. And I want to offer this because the stars, oh my goodness, are offering us so much opportunity for choice and awareness. Yes, she is so, I got to tell you, she's a quirky girl. Did I mention that she jumped up? I was sitting on the pot and out of nowhere, she just jumped up in my lap. like she got bit up, like when she jumps like she got bit on the ass. She's kind of funny. So there are huge transits that are going on that are going to run through themes of the human experience, themes of oppression, themes of restriction, themes of choice, themes of literally liberty. So let's go into talking about this. This week starts off right now with Mercury retrograde in Scorpio, 23, 24 degrees this week, making a trine to Saturn, which is stationed retrograde at 25 degrees of Pisces, and making a trine to Jupiter, which is a grand retrograde trine in water. In these mastering degrees, okay? And while Mercury will move in and out of this trine pretty quickly, because Mercury is going to go to 20 degrees, that'll leave it in a loose grand trine retrograde, and then it's going to come back, Mercury, when it's going direct. Saturn will be direct at that point, but Jupiter will still be retrograde. So this week, Mercury is going to revisit your childhood, potentially Mercury, early years, the way you think, the way other people think about the way you think, because we're looking at Mercury and Scorpio, how other people have power and control over you, or how your imprint, your own thoughts influence your decisions. Saturn rules our history. Saturn is stationed at 25 degrees, which makes Saturn very, very powerful. And in this sign of Pisces, where Saturn is immersed in this blurry energy that Saturn doesn't appreciate. Saturn wants to know exactly what is sustainable, what is doable. So Saturn is defaulting to history, to what it knows, and it's holding itself. So Mercury, your thoughts, your childhood, your history is harmoniously aspecting Saturn while it aspects Jupiter in the house of your home and your beliefs and your expansion. And Jupiter also rules lightning. I know we don't always think of that. We put that to Uranus, but in ancient times, there's a weather thing, and there's a lot of weather going on in the United States right now, and it's in water. So this retrograde grand trine this week, especially the beginning of the week, is offering us an opportunity to rest, to reflect, to re-establish new structures built on broader concepts. As Mercury goes direct, it's making a conjunction with Venus. Okay, so Venus is, Mercury's going to go back to 20 degrees before on the 29th it moves forward. Venus is hovering around it. Venus is also in this grand trine this week. She pulls herself off as she moves deeper and deeper into Scorpio. So this could be where your self-worth, your personal family history, your even your money, because we've got Scorpio in there, Scorpio ruling big money. So there's a lot to reflect upon. And while the aspect is harmonious, the rest and reflection may feel a little challenging, like you're underwater or you've been treading water, right? Like, oh my God, I just, I'm just not really getting anywhere. Look at those ears. Nothing's really moving forward. Oh yeah, there's so much energetically. Now, while Venus makes her way through Scorpio, and again, she's not considered in her best favor in Scorpio because she's considered in fall, or actually in detriment because she rules Taurus. But I think that Earth rules Taurus. But anyway, that's a whole different discussion. Venus is going to be in an opposition to Uranus, as Uranus is going in those last degree of Taurus. Again, Taurus ruling not just where we, our personal history and ruling our resources, but ruling our willingness to move forward. Taurus can be a little stubborn and super slow to the point of almost looking like things aren't moving. So I think that the opposition to Uranus is offering, again, this idea of where do I want to liberate myself? What do I want for my future? What do I want to establish, grow, and nurture? I think that's Taurus. I think that's also Saturn in Pisces. So look at her little, like she just turns into a little goo ball. It's so cute. Okay, now Saturn is going to go direct on Thanksgiving in the United States, which I think is super, it's just such a, like, is there a coincidence? I don't know. But the idea of Saturn ruling the history of man, ruling Thanksgiving, ruling gratitude for new lands, for new liberties, for new opportunities. That's what Thanksgiving was. It was a bridge between two cultures. And here we are celebrating it while this grand trine is taking place. Very, very, just so interesting. So there could be a lot of review, a lot of old shit coming up. Okay, I want to say this too, because you could go to a Thanksgiving event and then oh, Aunt Sally, there she goes again talking about something that is always grated on your nerves. Mercury talking, always thinking about the old days, or oh, I remember when, I don't know, whatever it is, but just be mindful and think about the stars and try to let them put a buffer between you and any potential irritations, because we do have Mars as the focal point of a T-square this week with the nodes. So here Mars is going to range around 13, 14 degrees all the way till 19 degrees this week. And the nodes are currently retrograde in Virgo and Pisces. Virgo, how do I think? How do I process? Again, what am I enslaved to? What do I feel obligated to? So this could be a big week where you become super aware of old stories, old people, not being able to change. Not, there comes a point, I think, even with some of the more pliable signs, that they get to a certain stage and they just are used to the routine. So be mindful of this, because as Mars is the focal point of the T-square, it is approaching the great attractor in Sagittarius all week. The great attractor being at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. This is a real opportunity to be brave and to decide how I take action. Do I take action, or maybe I don't? Because the retrograde trine would tell me not to take action, to dig deeper into my emotional body and the emotional body potentially of others, because we're looking at Mercury in Scorpio. That's other people. Mercury is definitely other people as well. And I want to offer this too. And I have all these ideas for videos. I just have really very little motivation, and I'm all into bonding with her lately. But Mercury and Venus don't have any moons, okay? They're too close to the sun. So the first planet that gets a moon is Earth, right? And or maybe Mars. No, Earth and Mars. I don't know. I can't remember the lineup right now. But because Mars only has 2 moons and we only have 1. There's something about that makes me feel like these 2 planets are unconsciously voracious to feel something emotionally. I think Mercury wants to feel the emotional validation of the ideas it has, of the way that it is an orator, or what joy and information it can bring, what light, flirtatious fun Mercury can bring to a situation. And of course, Venus very much wants to be valued for her beauty, for her partnerships, and how she represents harmony and so many things that the humans value in the experience. And yet there's a part of her that I think is inherently voracious, even more so than Mercury, because she comes from a more emotional place. She actually needs others more than Mercury. So this is just my interpretation. So I think that this is something to pay attention to, because I think when the moon is involved, and we think about the other planets having multiple moons and so many moons, Saturn having the most moons in the galaxy or solar system, that is where authority, supersedes and eclipses our own personal needs. And so there's just, it's just interesting dynamic. All right, one other thing. No other things. No other things. That's it for this whole week. Are you ready to get down and go lay down? Will you take care of yourself and say, okay, Mom's going to do the readings now. We're going to start with the birthdays of Sagittarius, and I'm going to go lay on my bed. Look at her. She can fall asleep. I got to tell you, when you rub this little girl's belly, her eyes rolled in her head, and you see her go, and then she falls into a sleep like nobody's business. She dreams. Her whole body twitches and moves, and she makes noise. And she's so quirky. She's so interesting. She's very interesting. If she's 5 years old, she was born with Pluto in Capricorn, and I believe Saturn was in Capricorn in 2020, and I think Jupiter was as well. So it'd be interesting to see. That's the next test we're going to do, is an age test. They have 70%, 77% accuracy. So we'll see. And I just think that we can astrologically figure out what's going on with her by her how she shows up and what she does, her behavior, her traits. Okay. Here we go. It's so good to see you, small wildflower. So I asked you early. She's so adorable. She's a rascal, though. Like we ran into a neighbor this morning on our walk, and I had her in the pouch, and then a big noise happened, and she literally wants to jump right out of the pouch, like a kangaroo. I mean, she's like a poof, poof. It's so funny. I'm glad my instincts are so, but she kind of scares me sometimes, because when she gets in one of those places, it comes out of nowhere. So it'll be interesting to see. We know Uranus was in Taurus when she was born. So I wonder where that might play out, because if she does have Gemini energy, her ears, she's 5 years old. Her ears, I think, are going to stay like this forever. I got her a new puzzle too yesterday. It came from Chewy, and it kept her busy for a whole 3.5 minutes. It was so fun. Okay, let's start with our Sagittarians. Happy birthday to everybody who's having a birthday this week. Anybody who's having a baby this week, very interesting stars for you all, because these planets are stationed. And I think that's another thing that we don't look at in our natal chart that would be interesting to know. We usually just look at the day and the time, but we don't look at what was the atmosphere around. Because if indeed you're born and Mercury's direct, but it's coming out of a retrograde, you have a Mercury stationed in your natal chart. Something to pay attention to. The more I play with astrology, and I'm playing with it more like a detective these days, like, where are the clues? Where are the layers that give me the information? And I'm looking for things that validate what I already know, so that when I hypothesize about things, I feel more confident. So again, look at your charts in Placidus, and you might just want to look and see if you're having any significant transits right now, if indeed you have any planets that were stationed during your time of birth. I'm going to look. I don't even know if there are any of mine are. All my planets are direct. I know that. I remember looking at what I assume. My brother-in-law is born 3 weeks before me. He's born on September 21st. I'm 4 weeks. I'm October 17th. So the moon cycle is pretty similar. So I suspect he has a Taurus moon as well. But at the time of his birth, Venus was right on Regulus, and Venus had just been coming out of a retrograde. And then Venus moved forward. Now I have Venus at 10 degrees of Virgo. So in 1 month, Venus moved 10 degrees. I think all that's very significant, because in his chart, having Venus stationed on Regulus would say a lot about why my sister gets away with what she gets away with. Anyway, all right, let's go on. What is the tarot card for our Sagittarians this week? Your ruling planet, Jupiter, is retrograde. We want to remember that Jupiter doesn't just own travel and foreign people and foreign places. It doesn't just own expansion. It owns a sense of, honestly, I'm going to say it, it's an entitlement for the expansion. It is a really strong sort of energy that almost commands growth. And I don't mean growth like I need to be a better person growth. I mean, if we think about Mercury with small bits of information, in Gemini, giving you the sound bites, giving you the taglines, giving you the, here's our news at 5. Jupiter's the one who's telling the whole story of what the news actually is, and it craves that. So there is a depth to Jupiter, but at the same time, there's such a need for that expansion that the depth goes into more of a broad dynamic of, I know I'm getting a little over myself, but the reason I'm bringing this up is because the trine is really asking for you to look deeper into the Cancer energy. That grand retro trine with your ruling planet being exalted in Cancer, moving backwards is saying, what can I take from that home to expand upon? And what do I need to leave from that home experience behind? What is no longer serving me or tethering me, Saturn's leg in the trine that, is limiting me? That's where I'm going with all that. Okay. Tarot card. I've had this weird flickering lights in my house lately, and I really wonder if there isn't ghost related. All right, Sagittarius, your card is the Hierophant. This is, that Taurus energy. This is also the energy of belief. It also has a Jupiterian flair to it. In most traditional decks of the Rider-Waite, we see a religious figure, maybe a pope, maybe a pastor. Well, it's not really a pastor. It looks much more like a pope. And we see these monks. Here, to me, this is about having the tenacity to withstand whatever journey of growth there is, with the character being almost semi-naked, that the torso where all the organs are is bare, up against this big opposing, what could be opposing, and yet there's a cooperation. So for me, this is about, the Hierophant is representing a commitment, an honoring of whatever you want to grow, and on some level having a tenacity like the bull to continue to pull, the hoe, whatever it takes to nurture the path of whatever you're trying to grow. I'm seeing myself almost like I'm on a farmland. And while bulls don't traditionally pull things, well, maybe they did, ox did. So let's see where we're going with this. Because I think there's this grand retro trine feels like it has a bit of a booby trap in it. Like, oh, trines are so nice, but everything's retrograde. What does that mean? Something can be revisited, but it's going to take my perspective to make it harmonious, to make it work for me. My awareness, my review of my own spiritual path, my awareness of my knowing of what contrast provides, my awareness of knowing what divine disruption is, and then walking into a divine disruption and not behaving the way I used to, because I'm being sacred to what I want my new history to be, what I want to grow. That's where I'm going. That's Mars's 10th point in Sagittarius. So if you, Sagittarius, find yourself feeling hot, feeling a little, aggressive, or a little, resentful, and somehow you don't really know how to express that, because that would be what that T-square would be. It's like, here is the nodes, the North Node in Pisces saying, take a spiritual approach. The South Node in Virgo saying, what the heck? This is not how it's supposed to be done. This is not, following the correct processes, or I have to do this because I'm enslaved to it. And then Mars sitting almost on the great attractor. So if you look at it and go, now, why did I attract this situation? Whatever it is that's causing me to be aware that I have to honor something. Then if I'm a co-creator of that situation, then this is a karmic moment for me to feel the power of my own spiritual awareness. I hope that made sense. I felt like I was channeling for a second. It was coming out fast. There's the goblin that represents the ego. There's the wind fairy, which represents the mind. It's also Mercury. There's the swan, transformation with your psychic gifts. And then the final card is the letting go card, but in reverse. So somewhere what's happening, it's not about trying to let something go. It's the incorporation of it to create wisdom. And the honoring of almost like, so many nasty things I think have happened to me this year, right? My dog happened to die. My ex-love died, this apartment thing. And then this week, my sink backed up. But while I was peeling those damn potatoes and thinking, is this too much for the garbage disposal? I thought, yeah. And then I thought, no. And then I put them in the garbage disposal and they went through fine, but then they clogged up. So there's weird shit coming back up, okay? The goblin is with Sagittarius is coming up in relation to love. This is Venus right now. And Venus is in Scorpio. She's going to become part of that trine. Fiona is saying, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving. That's joining the wind fairy. Yes, everything is working out. And when we remember that even the things that don't feel good, because the ego is going to tell us that things don't feel good for a reason. Isabella is joining the swan saying, yes, the timing is right to recognize your transformation, Sagittarius. And then the final is patience. And this is reversed. So it's interesting because we're talking about a reversed trine, right? We're talking about a reversed grand trine in water. So here is the ego up against Chantal. I don't think this is necessarily about something romantic, although it could have something to do with partnerships because we have Venus here also representing potential partnerships. But I think more so this has to do with self-love. And potentially during a week when a lot is expected of people in the way of togetherness and gratitude. And maybe we don't feel so much gratitude this year. Who knows? But Fiona is saying, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving and recognizing where the mind is not just a tool for thinking, but it's also an imprint for memories. You know, it's the place that memories are stored during the human experience. Because in remembering those memories, the Taurus energy, the Saturn energy we're experiencing, the Mercury energy we're experiencing, this swan is asking for transformation, but this is not about letting go of something. It's about the incorporation of it. It's about the extraction. It's the surrender, but not in a place of weakness, in a place of power, because you no longer need to study. You no longer need to let go of something. This Sagittarius is taking your ruling planet that expands ideas and starting to live that in the 3D world. But the 3D world will be on the interior this time, not necessarily in an outward situation. Meaning I'm not in a confrontation with another person. I'm not in a potentially negative situation, but I'm aware of how something outside myself is triggering something on the inside that's making me have to claim myself a little bit more and what I want. Okay. All right. Here we go. Onward and upward, as they say. Really dig this. If you guys get PBS, this series on the American Revolution, it's narrated by Peter Coyote. I think there's 3 episodes. I've seen 2. I'm not sure if the third one is actually available for airing, but I would encourage you to watch it because it's not so much about the history. It's about the stars doing the same thing and offering the same opportunities from 284 years ago. It's kind of crazy because back then there were so many things that you could easily transfer, just change a little bit of language, more modern language. It's so interesting, really. And honestly, does not really make George Washington seem like a very nice person. And not just because he was a slave owner. You know, he sounds a little egotistical. And the whole reason he became he was the one who was shot the first or fired the first shot in the 7-Year War, which was in 1750 something. And then he didn't get the accolades from Britain that he wanted. He didn't get the commission that he wanted. So it was really out of bitterness that he became the leader of the American Revolution. I didn't know that. So I thought, well, okay, so everybody's got an ego. And apparently he was quite tall in comparison to the men of the time. He was 6'3", and most people were about 5'10" back then. So these little things I find very interesting. So anyway, all right, here we go. On to our Capricorns, rising moon, sun, and stellium. So we're working our way around the zodiac. We start with the birthday month. Isn't that interesting? It is interesting. All righty. Our tarot card for our Capricorns for this week is, the 10 of Swords. Okay. We know this is a card of drama. All right. It's also a card of overkill. Okay, when in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, you see a guy laying face down and he has, 9 more swords that he needs to die. Here, I want to offer this because in this deck, you see the character sort of opening up his heart. He's touching his heart. I think somehow during this week, with your ruling planet stationed, which means when a planet is stationed to move one way or the other, it's 5 times more powerful. It's like it's standing in the sky, just really surveying the landscape. Capricorn's surveying history. And, I think on some level, I just got this feeling of regret or like, time wasted. I don't know if Capricorn needs to go there. Maybe it's not, the worst thing would be for Capricorn to have an epiphany that, life is meant to be more fun, and then to start to laminate and ridicule or feel bad that you didn't know that until now. Just be glad that you knew it. For some reason, something's coming up, like that whole trine is speaking emotionally to me and intuitively. And I don't care what sign you are. Everybody has an emotional and intuitive body. Some are just easier to access than others. So let's look and see what this 10 of Swords is calling for. Because it may be walking away from drama, or people who are dramatic, or people who create challenges. Welcome, Georgia. Hi, Soul's Creation, or Soul's Secret Service News. That's a cool name. Okay, first angel is Vanessa, faith or fear. There's a tough one, especially in these times. The next angel is Chantal, but this time she's reversed. Then we have victory in the form of Omega. Oh. And then we have Ray, but she's upside down. Okay. Oof. When we get to places like, here, where's the money going to be for Christmas, and how am I going to do this? And we need to live in the material world. We all know that, right? And everything that we are saturated with makes us feel a bit of insecurity. And I think here that for my Capricorns, Vanessa's really kind of heralding which direction will you go. We have the Vanessa, faith or fear, and then we have the birth and the rebirth card, but it's upside down. So this would indicate that there's something coming up in Capricorn's history, whether it's an emotional history, which I think it is. Emotional also being how you feel about yourself, how you feel about your own personal expansion, how you feel about your opportunities. And that may be opportunities for love, because we have with Chantal upside down, this is not just about intimate love. It's about being inherently lovable without having to be of service or responsibility to another. I think that horse is really representing Jupiter's contribution in that trine to reviewing your beliefs. And as your beliefs have evolved, old systems can be coming up that will push up against your new beliefs, and people who are used to you behaving a certain way may rub up against you and make you feel like, well, what happened to you, or why aren't you the same way you've always been? Again, your ruling planet is stationing in a trine conjunct Neptune, no less. Okay, I didn't even really bring that up because they've been traveling together for so long, it almost feels like it's a gimme, but that's huge. Because that's very polarizing. It's either going to be very erosive and blurry and almost deceptive in its energy. I feel if I don't do what you want, then I'm not good. That's a lie. That's a lie. More people that are happy inherently within themselves, they create happy energy outside. So victory in the form of Omega is being joined by the Queen. For Capricorn, I think that isn't about receiving. I don't think that's about friendships right now. I think that's about being the queen or the king in your life, and almost looking at other people's drama and saying, you know what, I'm not participating this time. I'm not picking it up. I'm not going to do it. Welcome, Stephen. Because Ray upside down to me is I'm lacking. I'm struggling with my connection to spirit, because maybe there's so much on the other side. Let's say you're a person who goes into a family that is not necessarily aware. And, here you are evolving and changing, and they're keep wanting to kind of put you in the same spot you've always been. Well, you always brought this. Why don't you want to do it this year? Well, I want to change it up. We don't want you to change it up. We want you to keep it the same. That's one of the things that's going on. Taurus very much wants to keep things the same. Uranus wants to break things up. And Uranus is starting this opposition with Venus, and Venus is joining the trine in this week, the trine of Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury being retrograde. So there's going to be something that comes up that's going to want to put you in an old energy that won't allow for your rebirth to be effortless, seamless, or even maybe potentially not even celebrated. But this is where you get to celebrate self, because Ray is being joined by the cat, and the cat is all about healthy boundaries. You may feel a little, I think this is a tense week. And, there's a weird feeling for me always of wanting to embrace others and then wanting to be by myself, because, it's hard to be around other people because of there's always the series of questions and things I'm not interested in chatting about. So I think overall for my Capricorns, this week will rub up against your own evolution, probably more on the inside than the outside, because you'll be asking yourself, is it worth all the drama to evolve, or is it just easier to stay the same? Is it just easier to let things ride the way they have been, even though I'm not necessarily happy? And Spirit is saying, no, I don't think so. It's time to re-engage your faith and your own sense of self. And then here we go. It's time to have healthy boundaries with others and reconnect with Spirit. And, I want to offer this too, because Spirit, God, the angels, whatever you want to call energy out there, I really believe there's an awareness of what happens when you take on the human experience. And in that, there's a definite okay, you get a little wiggle room. The only people that expect perfection out of humans is humans themselves. And that's just absolutely ridiculous, because humans are fabulously flawed at best. So, yeah. All right, let's go on to I had to check out where my little girl is. She's over in the sunshine listening to the chimes. Yes, little grasshopper, he had awful teeth. In fact, they didn't go over this in the documentary, but I've heard that he had his slaves, pull their own teeth to have put in his mouth, and he had wooden teeth. And, oh yeah. Well, he's Saturn. Probably Saturn, has a lot to do with that in his chart. I don't know. I haven't actually looked at his chart. I should have gone to look at it. It's widely publicized. Okay, let's see where we're going for our Aquarians. Are you ready? Ooh, the Six of Pentacles, but it's upside down. This is absolutely a law of attraction card. And this would be that you may not be aware of what you're attracting right now. You may not be aware of your co-creation. When for a long time, there were certain tarot cards that I always felt were not defined clearly to me. And this was one of them, until one day I looked and I realized that the two characters in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, the color of their robes was saying a lot as to why the benefactor was giving one person money and the other had the scales of justice held up over his head or her head. And I think that has something to do with the law of attraction. So here, Aquarius, you have this reputation to be the owner and the ruler of anxiety, literally intrusive thoughts. And that is something that on some level, I think that, yes, there is that dynamic and I want to honor it. But there's also a dynamic where Aquarius is so innovative that if you're not honoring the truth of your future and the truth of what you want to live in this life, it'll produce a lot of anxiety for you. So I think that's the first question is what is my law of attraction? What am I focusing in on? Am I, as my ruling planets, Uranus first is retrograde. Uranus is making a sextile over there to Neptune, okay, and eventually Saturn again. And Saturn is your co-ruler. So this is about This is really about assessing things, and am I standing in power, or am I somehow standing like I'm not contributing in my life? All right, your first angel upside down is Teresa. That's all about worry. But I should say it's even more. It's also about rest. And this is upside down. The Indriel, the light worker, is also upside down. We have Astera is upside down. And we have Layla is upside down. So far, everything with Aquarius is in reverse. So there's a great need for a review of what it is you want, where you've been going, and what you've been focusing in on. And it might even be where, with Teresa representing a timeout, but she's reversed, this might be not necessarily about taking action, but about recognizing the action you're taking. Because if you're feeling this, you're not feeling that you're getting. The Six of Pentacles upside down is going to infer that you're not getting what you want, that you don't feel the universe is bestowing something upon you, or you're not getting favor of some kind. That could be because you've been sitting in so much worry. It's time to stop worrying. It's time to rest. It's time to surrender. You have not been connecting with spirit. You've not been reaching for the stars with a bigger picture of what you, Aquarius, own. And you've not been spending time thinking about the future in a positive way, but let's look. Now we have Merlin. So you've been completely out of balance, Aquarius. You've been worrying, and you've been focusing in on things that are feeling unjust. They're not happening. Hey, Queen Leo. Everybody's names seem to be shifting a little bit today. I wonder, where are all these dashes and these B3Z and MT7NP? What does all that mean? All right. Indriel is being joined by the communications card. You're definitely not connecting with spirit. The dragon is joining Astera. And in the final position is the cow joining Layla. All right, for my Aquarians, this is kind of the thing. Right now, you could inadvertently, because, Uranus has been going retrograde at an anaretic degree, 29 degrees of Taurus, making a sextile to 29-degree retrograde Neptune. This is a hugely powerful dynamic, and there's a sense of real erosion here, where something is dissolving, something is giving way to something bigger. And here, right now, it is almost a time to really assess whether you're standing in alignment to your future and you're really believing that you're a co-creator, because you're not connecting in a deep way with your own light. This is Indriel, the light worker, and I think this is you as not a light worker for others, but somebody who shines the light of their own rebellion against that which represses them. Because Astera is saying to reach for the stars, and then we have the dragon. So if you're not feeling powerful, if you're not feeling a sense of strength, it's because you're not connected to the version of yourself that you want to live in the future. And literally, Layla's about contemplation, about spending time really thinking. Most humans don't spend time thinking about how they can be happy. They think about how they can plug the holes in their lives, or, what isn't right, what isn't balanced. The cow is about nourishment, abundance, asking and receiving. This is very powerful for me, because right now what I think is going on is that somehow Aquarius has gotten caught up in the anxiety in the more lower vibrations of what Uranus represents. And in doing so, it's kind of pulling you back. And Spirit's saying, slow it down, use potentially the grand retrograde trine this week in water to connect with your own emotions, connect with your guides, connect with your angels. And if indeed, for some reason, Aquarius, I don't think of you, especially Aquarius moons, as criers. But I would say let your body release whatever it needs to release. If you find anger coming up, because of the Mars, Mars is having a T-square, go to a rage room and, hit something. I wonder if it changed my, I don't know. I don't have the bandwidth right now to care about all these little weird things. I'm sorry. I don't know. I feel like every day that I make it through, I'm happy. Welcome, Joanne. Have you never been here before? Your name seems familiar to me. Okay. Oh, no. Queen Leo, I'm telling you, I feel like I am a waterworks. I feel like if I don't cry in a day, it's something like, it's like oh, because I'm exhausted. Honestly, I'm so tired. And I don't think this time of year in the United States, I don't know about anywhere else, but the days are short. And by 3 o'clock, I feel like it's 10 o'clock. Yes, I thought you were a regular subscriber. Your name's very familiar, but YouTube's putting weird numbers on things now, new names. Did I ask you about the pumpkin spice? You said you liked it. Do you want more pumpkin spice? Or is it like just, do you have enough? I don't know. I'm a little weird about pumpkin spice. But it is a limited edition. If you want more, let me know. So I'll get it before it's gone. Okay. On to our Pisces rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Now, let me remind you about this whole, I know I'm seem repetitive, but looking at your charts in Placidus and determining where your rising sign is so important to that 12th house, first house dynamic. So if you have a late degree, anything after, say, 15 degrees halfway through the sign, that means half of this house of self is in the house of invisibility and the house of self-undoing. So look at that, especially if you're a Pisces. Not especially, but since we're on Pisces, because you've got this really powerful transit that doesn't happen in our lifetime or for the last almost 1,500 years with Saturn and Neptune conjunct in those late degrees. Okay, tarot card for Pisces is, oh, yeah, I saw that one. The mint. Yeah, that's a Christmas one. Okay, here we go. Okay, Pisces, there you go. This is the death card. This is not negative, okay? This is transformation, and that's what you represent at your core is transcendence. Every deck I use has a different visual vibration for me. And here, this one, the death card, very much the horses are representing my belief. Am I willing to move into a higher vibration, or am I going around in circles? To me, this card could potentially indicate going around in circles. The character feels a little trapped in what's running around him. And then we see this sort of almost like alien type cloud formation, which is actually covering him in this triangle. I think that this is actually a friendly formation, almost as if we're looking at Pisces here, right? So there is something to me, your ruling planets are having strong conversations. First, we have Neptune retrograde at 29 degrees. That's an anaretic degree and on the world axis. Will you allow your ego to dissolve to the point of trusting a bigger picture of yourself? Jupiter in Cancer right now, retrograde, making an exact trine to Saturn this week because Saturn's stationed, and basically Jupiter's almost still stationed because it has barely moved a degree. This is so powerful for really reestablishing what is important to you, what you want, where you want to travel. And this time, it's not about traveling physically, it's about traveling emotionally, spiritually, creatively, Pisces. So this death card could be really fabulous because it could reestablish a new sense of, as you allow the retrograde grand trine to emotionally connect you to something deeper in the deeper truth of who and what you are. All right, let's do our spread. Such a good girl, I gotta tell you. So I'm going to announce again, since we have 20 people in the room right now, I'm doing a little fun thing with Lulu. I've ordered a DNA test. It's going to take about 2 to 4 weeks. I think somewhere around Christmas is at the latest it'll be here. And if you want to guess what Lulu is, the person who comes closest, and if indeed 2 or more people have the same guess, whoever emailed me first will be the one who wins. I'm going to I'll answer a question for you privately. You get to ask one question, and it'll probably be about 15-minute reading, knowing me and my mouth. So I encourage you to join. And then after that, we're going to do Lulu's age, I think, and see if we can guess, because they claim they can tell you her birthday. And I have a few guesses. All right. So for our Pisces, Rosetta is upside down in the foundational position, which is about youth. It's about innocence. Archangel Raphael is upside down. Sonia is upside down. And then finally, we have Archangel Gabriel. Okay. You know, wherever Saturn goes, there's this feeling of dryness. There's a feeling of feeling tired and old and worn out. And like, you know, there's this weird enduring energy. I almost feel like Rosetta is talking about a childlike innocence that's been eroded for Pisces. Rosetta is being joined by the cat. Okay, now I want to offer this. The cat represents healthy boundaries, yes, but it also represents 9 lives. And I wonder if there isn't a potential at this moment that this death card is really ushering in a new chapter, something that's more aligned than you would not have suspected previously. Archangel Raphael is reversed, being joined by the king, which is things pertaining to justice. Okay, this is very interesting to me. Sonia is being joined by the queen. So clearly there's the potential for Pisces that there's a change in a relationship. We're literally seeing the king and the queen together. The relationship does not necessarily have to be with an intimate partner. It could be anybody who potentially represents, I want to say, a sense of authority to me. The king is very Saturnian, you know, in the sense of the ruler, you know. We'll see what Archangel Gabriel is saying. Okay. I want to offer this for my Pisces. There's something that's happening that I think potentially that there is a relationship or people that you're hanging out with that are eroding your sense of self, eroding your sense of your true identity. When I look at Rosetta, this is this childlike innocence. It's upside down. You know, it's also a parenting card. It's a card that has to do with children involved in your life or the dynamic of children. And the cat's about independence and healthy boundaries and 9 lives as a result of putting a little bit of space between whatever is upside down, whether it's your own sense of childlike fun and frivolity or whether there literally has to do with children in your life. Because sometimes there will not be a healing without engaging the law, literally. Like, I mean, this could be universal law. It could be human law, because in the angel's advice is Sonia. Someone's not listening, Pisces, to their deceased loved ones or to the messages that they're getting, because the queen is really also about receiving, and it's about women. And having it upside down in relation to this death card, there's a transformation of some kind. This could be literally that there is a message that I need to take legal action when it comes to certain dynamics in my life where I'm being thwarted from receiving. But at the same time, I feel like before there's something about engaging in the idea of where I'm going, where those healthy boundaries are taking me, not just about moving something out of my space, but what it offers in a bigger way. Because Archangel Gabriel is about insecurity, and then the wealth card is upside down. This wealth card is a harmonious wealth card for me. So I think for my Pisces, there's could potentially be, again, Pisces, rising moon, sun, and any stelliums. You could be experiencing the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, even though you may have planets in Pisces that are not necessarily close to it. It's still affecting the house. And you may feel this sense of almost being trapped. I almost feel like. But I don't know if that's true, because on some level, you'll have to like bet on something. You'll have to allow something to transform, because now you're just caught in a circle. And that circle feels like beliefs. I'm never going to get out of this. They're always going to win. I'm not powerful. It feels like, and that's easy for a Pisces, especially a Pisces moon, to fall prey to, not feeling powerful. Okay, let's go on to our Aries, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And if you are an early born Aries, your whole identity is being, rewritten. Your sun on the world axis right now, with Neptune and Saturn being there, is a real, how do I phrase this? It's not an easy transit by any means, but it is a soul redefining transit. or a home transit. Okay, let's see what the card of the week is for our Aries. Your ruling planet is part of a T-square. And that T-square is the focal point, and Mars is traversing the great attractor. So if this week you find yourself falling prey to old habits, angry thoughts, aggressive behavior, warlike behavior, you could, likely experience that. I'd be mindful on the highways. But then there's also that north node in Pisces, giving you an opportunity to actually be brave in your Mars energy, to recognize where other people who rub up against you, even if you feel a sense of obligation to them, sometimes it's better to just get them mad at you because you didn't talk to them, rather than talking to them in an argument starting. You're going to have to define something. Remember, with this grand trine is all retrograde, and 2 planets are stationing this week to move forward. That's very powerful energy when it comes to Saturn, history, and Mercury, my community, my neighborhoods, my roadways, the way I think, the way I speak, my siblings, my cousins. All right, Aries, here we go. I'm suddenly having a heat wave. Just when she feels better, she has to go back tomorrow, right? Isn't tomorrow the next treatment? Okay, Aries, your tarot card this week is the Moon reversed. Clarity is coming in. This is great. The moon here represents a sign of Pisces. It represents duality. It can represent things feeling foggy and unclear. But when it's reversed, there's a feeling of clarity that comes through. There's an understanding of the duality of things in some way. And right now, for some reason, this moon is really shining bright upside down to me. So this is a full moon in this particular deck. So there's that confirmation of an illumination of some kind. Do you, Small Wildflowers, do the protein drinks help the week that you've had your treatments? Like, is that all you really eat or drink? Because I kind of think that you're probably not feeling so great tummy-wise, or, is that how you're, because if all you can eat this week is pumpkin spice and winter mint and cinnamon roll, we need to get you loaded up. We need to get you your stash of drinks. I don't know if y'all know, the Small has, what is it called? Premier. I could show people what it looks like. Okay, let me show. I'm just going to show the audience real quickly. I know, Aries, you're so compassionate. You won't mind if I quickly just show what the brand is. Hold on. Now, you all know that I love Small, like nobody's business, but I don't love her enough to shave my head. So instead, my solidarity was to purchase the drinks that she's stuck on during her treatments. I got the caramel. I actually kind of think this is pretty good, but these are the drinks that she's. If anybody wants to send her a case of drinks on Amazon, I just thought I'd bring that up. Little pitch. Okay, back to Aries. Thank you for the pink. I like it myself. I thought I'm trying to wear happier colors since most of my insides feel pretty miserable. I'm very emotional all the time. I feel like I cry more than I smiled lately. I'm so tired of it. Okay, Aries, here we go. Layla, spending time in nature, hasn't been happening. Desiree's upside down. Isaiah's upside down, and then Caressa's upside down. I mentioned earlier that early born Aries. Oh, really? If you drink too many of them? I don't drink a lot of them. I've just tasted them, but I had a couple of them. Anyway, but my point is this. Somewhere, I want to say this for my Aries, because the having Neptune and Saturn hovering over your sun or your rising or your moon or any planets is going to be extremely challenging, okay? Because it is such a polarizing dynamic in one way, because you can build very strongly on your faith and your spirituality, but it will be with a test, a Herculean test. And I think that's what the moon is also representing. What is carrageenan? I don't know what that is. I don't usually do too many of them, but I wanted to try everything that she was drinking. And I don't know, is there some better, is there a better brand that has more healthy stuff that she can have? Please tell us. Little Grasshopper is a nurse, by the way, if nobody knows that. Okay, Aries, Layla and Merlin are upside down together in the foundational position. The Grail Knight is joining Desiree, but Grail Knight is upright and Desiree is inverted. Isaiah and the cow is inverted. And then we have Caressa and the eagle. Okay. This week I said that there could be something that comes up that calls for clarity, or on some level, this upside down moon could also be on a kind of base level somebody who doesn't give a crap about your feelings, okay, about your emotions. And I really think that this is about Aries paying attention to, picking your battles kind of thing, because there's no magic happening this week for you. And also you're not spending time really in your meditation. Somewhere you're in movement mode, and Spirit is saying, if you want to find balance, you need to turn it around and spend time in quiet time and really seeking the sacred of what you want. No, we haven't done Scorpio yet. Scorpio is going to be the very last one, J-Dog, because it's now Sagittarius season. Desiree saying conditions are not favorable, right? And the reason they're not favorable is because Aries has not really laid down to be the sacred warrior, the peaceful warrior, pick your battles warrior, or being a smart warrior. I love this show called Special Forces. It's a reality show, and they put you through these grueling, Navy SEAL type exercises. And always at the end, there's this huge interrogation. And the interrogation, you really have to be mindful of how you interact with your interrogator, because part of you has to be friendly. You can't be too warrior-like. You've got to be able to read the room, as they say. Because right now, for my Aries, I feel like you need to read the room. There's not a new beginning being offered, and there's no abundance if you aren't aware of how you're showing up. It's so important, because something is coming to an end, and it could potentially be an awareness of how you're showing up. I used to hate this saying, because I'm an Aries rising, and my dad used to say, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And I would always say, I want both. And it would infuriate my dad. And ultimately, I did not win favor when I was right, and people celebrated when I was wrong. And so I think there's something going on here with my Aries paying attention to how you're showing up. You could be right. You could be in, complete alignment, but how are you doing it? And because this clarity feels like, oh my God, something comes clear to me. Now, the second half of this is, how will I show up? Will I show up in an old habit? Will I show up in a way that is not winning me favor or winning me support? There's nothing more unfun than when you're right and people are like actually celebrating your unhappiness or your whatever. I am so sorry to hear that. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry that your mom passed away. That's my grandfather's birthday, is September 3rd. Or was his birthday. All right, on to our Tauruses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. It's so funny how, Jupiter going into Cancer on some level feels like, oh, it should be so great. And then here, what we're looking at is literally Jupiter inside the house of home, retrograding, in the house of mother. It's so interesting. And Jupiter representing legal things as well. I did say I'm sorry for your loss, right? Okay, I hope so. So I was thinking I did. All right, on to our Tauruses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, so your great-grandfather would have been your mom's grandfather? That's kind of beautiful that he might have met her on the day she crossed over. All right, Taurus, here we go. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, our tarot card is the Page of Swords. It's very interesting because this is the beginning of new thoughts, right? This is the beginning of starting to actually take action on new thoughts. Let's look at this, Taurus, because Uranus could be bringing in some new innovative ideas to you. And I want to offer this too, because with Uranus making aspects to Venus this week, mostly the opposition, there could very well be, again, so much feels like it happens on the interior, not the exterior this week. The wars in your head, the wars in your heart, the self-talk feels very tumultuous to me. I don't necessarily feel like I'm interacting with other people. So Taurus rules history, my personal history, myself, my sense of self-worth, my value. And that is all directly related to how I was brought up and how I was celebrated. And now we've got Jupiter playing around in that house, making aspects to Mercury and Scorpio, making aspects to Saturn. I mean, you could literally feel completely like this could really indicate a lot of new things coming into your mind, but not into fruition. You're not ready to take aim yet. There's a weird feeling of almost like one thought leads to another thought leads to another thought, conclusion. Well, if this wouldn't have happened, then this wouldn't have happened, then that wouldn't have happened. And there could be, we'll see, a wisdom or a joy that comes from these new thoughts rather than them being challenging. There's also, like, when I look at this, there's a feeling of, when I'm looking at this Page of Swords, there's a feeling of this territory. And do you see these kind of clouds behind them? I almost get this feeling that this character's like, I've moved through this landscape and I'm walking away from these storm clouds. Let's see what Spirit has to say. Taurus, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Astera is the first angel. Reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. Ray is upside down, so there's a lack of connection to spirit. Maya is about schooling and education and process. And then there's Vanessa, faith over fear, choices that we make. The challenge with the earth signs and those that rule history are we tend to look at them like that's practical. That's where I've walked. That's where I've been. That's what's true. And yet, and so there I go back to these PBS programs and the American Revolution, because many people surprisingly found freedom in times when it wasn't expected. And I think that there's something here that's calling Taurus to start to think about things that you can't see. You can't look behind you to find the answer. And you have to sort of walk forward. And that might be hard emotionally to walk forward faithfully. Like if I make this choice that feels good to me, then that will lead to an even better choice or an even better opportunity. When sometimes we look back and we go, well, if I make that choice, nothing but challenging things can happen. Because Astera says to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires. And there's the restriction card. The focusing in on what won't happen. This is where the new ideas come in. This is where Uranus will break things up a little bit for you. Ray is upside down, and then the trust card is upside down. This is also another challenge of the earth signs, is that I'll see it when I believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. And what the real truth is, I need to believe it to see it. Because this is a lack of connection being upside down. It's a lack of trust. It's a lack of practice and cultivation. Maya is all about schooling and education, and it is being joined by the burden card upside down. It is not as much of a burden as you think it is to start to put these principles into practice, these new ideas. And very much new ideas have to do with, well, maybe worry is a form of prayer that doesn't serve me. Maybe thinking about all those bills and all the things I don't have is just creating more want and more lack. And rather than, I can't really think about abundance because I'm still unraveling the lack, but at least what I can do is go into neutral. Because here you do lack faith, okay? And the deer is just about being gentle and diplomatic with yourself as you don't try to move the story forward per se, but just get into clearer focus about what that future is. Now, let me offer it this way. Again, I'm talking about a grand trine in water. Okay, we're talking about Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer all being in play. We're talking about the planets of Mercury, my thoughts. We're even talking about Venus as she moves, tighter into the trine. But the two main players are Saturn and Jupiter. Will I restrict myself, or will I have the tenacity to keep looking to the broader picture, the expansion that wisdom offers me? Not necessarily the actual movement. It's all about the platform of my thought first. All right. Let's go on to our Gemini's rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Did you ever say what that stuff inside there is that isn't good for you? Kara, blah, blah, blah. I didn't see it. I've been calling her tall wildflowers lately, just to throw a little spin on it. All right, here we go. On to our Gemini's rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, here we go. I know things are so small these days. I can't see anything. I need to get a magnifying glass. Yeah, I'm really feeling my years lately. All righty. Gemini, the Judgment card. This is a very interesting card because I don't know about you, but when I immediately see the card, I take on judgment. Like, oh my God, am I going to be judged? Which then I recognize as a very human thought, because this could be assessment. This could be me making a judgment, me coming to a conclusion, me deciding something. Let's see where we're going. Yeah, one day at a time, truly, even 1 minute at a time these days, It's so easy to get caught up in the swirl. Let's see what judgment is referring to here. Our first angel for our Geminis is Mystique reversed. What are you doing, darling? She's suddenly like choking or something. Are you okay? What's going on? I don't know what happened. Hold on. She was just sleeping a second ago, and now she's like got something stuck in her throat. Hold on. You okay, honey bunny? Come here, love. What happened? Do you need to drink some water? Come here. Oh, I crunched my head. You okay? Oh. What's going on? What's going on? You can't breathe? You got something stuck in your throat? That's not sneezing. She does sneeze a lot, but she's having something. An inside sneeze. What's an inside sneeze? Can I hold her upside down or something and help her get it out? You okay? Yeah, it's like she can't breathe or something. How can I help her? How can I help you, sweetheart? You over it? You over it? What is this? How do you stop? What do you do about a backward sneeze? It's like I can hear the snot in her nose. Can I pat her? Should I put her down? What should I do? Are you okay? What are we going to do about that? I never heard to pat her. I did pat her. You okay? You okay? Do you think she needs some water? I think it's over. All right. Oh my goodness. Sorry, Gemini. All right. Second card is Athena. I think she's done. Oh. Now we have Isaiah inverted. And then we have Archangel Gabriel. All right, let's just Okay, we took her for a health check. She's supposedly a very healthy dog. All right, Mystique is being joined by the cow upside down. Athena's being joined by the love card upside down. Isaiah reverse is being joined by the queen. And then Archangel Gabriel is being joined by the wealth card. All right. Okay. This is honestly for Gemini. Now it's like she's going to spit something up. All very, just weird shit. Okay, this is what I think. This judgment card does not feel like judgment to you. It feels like it's you making a judgment about things. Mystique is saying, don't charge ahead. And this cow is talking about abundance. It's talking about that being able to receive an exchange of energy. So this is about slowing the roll down and actually assessing whether or not there is an exchange of energy. Because Athena is saying it's safe for you to lovingly assert yourself, but not till you've balanced yourself. This is the love card. And this is love card feels more about what do I love? What do I want to move forward with? Because the new beginning is not necessarily being offered in this moment. The queen is about assessing whether you're in a receptive mode, whether you're in the right dynamics in the form of a team or the place, or when I say place, I'm sorry, she's still kind of breathing weird. You okay? Because this is where I think you might be assessing things in your friendships. You might be assessing things in your communities. You might be looking at, am I feeling a sense of flow and give and take? Because here we have Archangel Gabriel, which also refers to communities. I think of the communications card. I think of Mercury. I'm thinking very much of this grand trine in water that's in retrograde. So I'm really assessing, are things working? Is communities working for my health, for my benefit? She is just not breathing well all of a sudden. Like an asthma attack? What do you do about an asthma attack? You have asthma? Come here, sweetheart. Can I put you? I'm going to put her on my lap. Hold on. I'm hoping. You're just, what is going on, sweetheart? What is going on? Oh my goodness. This is breathing issues. See her lifting her head up? She's trying to breathe. Okay, you got it. A hairball? Where would she get a hairball from? My hair? Maybe. She could have gotten. She's going. Okay. Oh, goodness gracious, my love. She's not doing. I don't know what this is about. She's never done this before. All right. Should I put you down? Would you feel better if I put you down? Is it done? Is it over? Oh, stickers off of herself. I don't know if she had these stickers. Okay, I think it's over. Is it over? No. She's like having trouble breathing all of a sudden. I don't have any Benadryl. Okay, I'm going to try to put her down and finish the broadcast. All right. She's looking a little more like herself again. Okay. On to our Cancers, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Got a ways to go. Sorry about that. I'm learning all sorts of new things with this little one. It's very weird. There's supposed to be allergies that come up in this DNA test. If there's allergies, relatives, all this sort of stuff. Okay. Lulu, you all right? You okay? She almost looks like she was crying. All right, here we go. On to our Cancers. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Your tarot card this week. The Seven of Pentacles. This is a card of assessing what you're building and whether or not you want to actually move, take what you have and move it, or whether you want to allow it to grow more. It's a card of contemplation. It's a card of assessment. It's a card of reevaluation. Let's see where we're going. We've got a grand trine in Earth. Oh my God. I've never seen such a thing. Lucky didn't have any reverse sneezes or anything like that. I've never heard of such a thing. Are you okay, sweetie? Come here. Head up, head up, head up, head up, head up, head up. You okay? I think it's past. All right. I think she was sleeping and it all just crept up on her. I just mopped the floors yesterday. There can't be that much dust. All right. Cancer. Aurora is saying you're flying high right now. Don't descend. Archangel Gabriel is talking about insecurity and communication. We have Rochelle, but she's reversed. She talks about following your heart. And then we have Indriel straight up. Okay. She is having snot in her nose of some kind that's not clearing. I know, poor little girl. All right, Aurora's being joined by the frog. Archangel Gabriel's being joined by the eagle reversed. Rochelle's being joined by the goblin. And Indriel's being joined by the partnership card. Okay, this week, with Cancer being, sort of on the forefront, home, hearth, family, traditions is all here in the United States on the agenda with Thanksgiving coming. Aurora says you're flying high right now, don't descend. And then the frog is literally, I think, about leaping past maybe things that you're used to. Here, assessing a situation, looking at what you've built and deciding what to do. With Archangel Gabriel and the eagle card upside down, it makes me wonder if there could not be some interesting communications that come up that are maybe a little, they lack tact, or they lack some sort of awareness of someone else. Because here we have Rochelle and the goblin. She's still breathing weird. She's not breathing well. This is about your ego. This is a little bit of, and it's upside down. So I want to offer it this way because, again, here you are watching this kind of material. So clearly you're in a place of awareness and of growing and of a set of nurturing yourself in a way that's looking at life from a more co-creative place, because Spirit is encouraging you to stay in your light this week, to have a partnership with a bigger picture of things. I want to offer it this way because you may bust your butt this week providing or trying to do something regarding the holiday, and it may fall flat in the way of appreciation or people responding, and that may hurt your feelings. But at the same time, I feel like this is an opportunity for you to pat yourself on the back and be happy with yourself, with what you've done, rather than look to others for a potential validation. I don't know why I want to say it that way, because this is upside down and this is upside down. Her head is down now. So I think, I wonder if I took her for a walk, if she wouldn't distract herself out of this, but we're not ready to go there. And we need to move this story forward because we have a ways to go. I wonder if it has something to do with my long hair. You'd be surprised how many balls of hair are around here. That doesn't sound very happy. Lulu just went to the doctor and had a health check. So if she suddenly gets something, I'm not going to be very happy about that. I have a little eucalyptus oil. I can have her sniff that without putting it on her. All right, we're going on to our Leos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Your card for the week is the Two of Pentacles. This is about going with the flow. It really is. It's about flexibility. It's about sort of knowing the storms are there and yet kind of, looking forward. If you think about in the background of the traditional Rider-Waite, you see the waters just going up and down, and there's ships going up and down. And yet this person, there's a need for flexibility. I know I would just think about, just if I did some eucalyptus, it would just be like wave it in the room. There, you got to be very careful with essential oils and dogs and their sense of smell. She's calm now. She seems to be breathing fine now. She's getting her teeth cleaned in a couple of weeks too, so that's good. All right. Leo, our first angel is compassion in the form of Grace and Antoinette. The second is Crystal, but that's upside down. Isaiah's upside down, and Merlina is straight up. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Wasp. Oh, boy. The Joy card is joining Crystal, but Crystal's upside down. Isaiah is being joined by the Earth Fairy, but Isaiah's upside down, and Merlina is being joined by the Moon. Okay. This is Leo. This is a week of flexibility. Lulu, you okay? She's just really, this is lasting a long time, guys. There's a very good possibility this week that someone is going to piss you off. This is very unseemly. Okay. I think this is about compassion for yourself and potentially compassion for someone else as you do not engage. The wasp is a stingy energy. It's about anger. And Grace and Antoinette is about looking at something from another person's point of view. Crystal is about seeing the future, and yet it's upside down. You can't see the future. And there's the joy card. The joy card goes back to this flexibility card, okay? Well, I want to offer this. Leo, you are a fire sign, and there's a very good potential that this week maybe it would be a good idea for you to take some element of yourself and put it into your own creative expression. Because Isaiah is talking about new beginnings, and then there's the earth fairy. And I think part of that is you might want to move a story forward. You may want to ground something, but it's not ready. There's a need for flexibility. There's a need for maybe even more information to come through. Remember, we're in a huge retrograde with 2 planets stationing to go direct. Merlina is here talking about movement forward. I'm sorry. Merlina is talking about confusion, and the movement card is upside down. Something cannot be clarified this week. Somewhere there needs to be a sense of flexibility. Somewhere there needs to be, for Leo, where you use whatever disruption is in the outside around you, and then you claim your joy. If you love running, go run. If you love, going to a aerobics class or, a salsa class, whatever you enjoy doing, this might be how you manage the outside influences that are confusing and a bit spiky and even potentially stingy. That's the way I want to look at it. Potentially stingy. I don't think this dog has all these crazy things going on. I think this was just we'll see. I'm going to check in with her foster mom who's lived with her for over a year and find out if she's done this before. Because the foster mom hasn't really disclosed all her little idiosyncrasies. I think she's afraid I won't keep the dog if I know everything. Because the dog's a little different. Plus, the DNA test should come up with allergies, health risks, behavioral traits, and potential relatives. So we should find out a lot of information, hopefully, with that. All right, let's go on to our Virgos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And we're going to do Libra, and we're going to do Scorpio, and we'll be done for the day. I've been giving her some mushroom supplements as well. So there could very well be a part of her that is detoxing a bit from the diet she previously had, which was not very good. Not bad, but not the greatest. All right, Virgo. We have the Queen of Swords, but it's inverted. Yes, I know you're right, 145 Club, because while it's happening for us, it's calling us to make decisions to claim ourselves a little bit more, and almost in a way that claiming our own balance, claiming our own thought process, claiming our own truths, in what means most important to us. Lucy Rose, that's not a bad idea, putting a little steam in the bathroom. I'll see how she is once we get done with the broadcast. So let's say this. So here we're talking Virgo. Queen of Swords is upside down. The Queen of Swords is very much a card of mental, it's like the marrying of the maternal nurturing energy with logic and reason and intellect, and yet it's upside down. So I would imagine for my Virgos that you might be feeling a little off. You may be feeling like you've got the South Node going through your first house of self, and that could very much make you feel an erosion of yourself or of your thoughts or of the processes that you have known historically, or, what's been going on with you. There are habits that you have that feel like they're realistic and practical, and there could be the opportunity to revisit those habits as to, are they actually still working? Oh my God. That was a huge, what is going on with this dog? Why is this lasting so long? She just snorted the hugest snort. But how long can a sneeze last? This has been a long time. All right, let's get our Virgos here. I don't know what will happen when I'm done with the broadcast. I don't know how I can change things. There's Merlina. There's confusion. Your processes aren't going to work for you this week. There's Shanti offering peace. There's Yvonne, and she's reversed, and Adriana is reversed as well. Yvonne is about vulnerability, and Adriana is about allowing yourself to be led by spirit. All right. This grand trine could really kind of mess with the Virgo energy, because technically Mercury is your ruling planet. And because it's your ruling planet and it's in Scorpio, it's part of this grand trine, which is in retrograde. And Mercury stationing and with Saturn stationing, there very much can be bringing up things that throw you off, because you have to sort of go onto a more emotional level than your cerebral level, and that could mess with you. An asthma attack. Okay. Well, she's calm now, and I will try the steam in the bathroom, because I have a little bathroom and it won't be hard to do that. All right, Merlina's being joined by the communications card upside down. So your normal practices, Virgo, are not going to work for you this week. In order to feel a sense of peace, you're actually going to have to surrender to the lack of being able to either figure it out or have your processes, your timing. Again, Mercury, ruling communications. Hey, everybody, for Thanksgiving, be here at 2:00, and no one shows up till 3:30. And you could find yourself in a situation that feels a little bit frustrating, because you think you're being clear, but it's still not clear. Yvonne is upside down, and then there's a letting go card. This is about being vulnerable to the integration of, how can I say this? Literally, for my Virgos, whatever processes you're used to, whatever planning you're trying to do, wherever you're trying to make sure everything is perfect, probably won't happen this week. It'll probably be fabulously flawed, and your opportunity is to just surrender to it is what it is. It's kind of like it feels like a Quartermaine Christmas. You know how they always end up burning the turkey on Thanksgiving or Christmas and they get a pizza? This feels like what could potentially happen to you. The final position is the High Priestess, and then Adriana is trying to lead you somewhere. And so this is really kind of fun, but it's conflicting, because the High Priestess in this particular sense is representing discernment. Okay. And what does Virgo rule? Discernment and process and fixing things and perfecting things. You more than likely this week will not be able to perfect things. You're going to have to sort of surrender to something that's fabulously flawed. And if for some reason you think you're being clear, you have to remember that other people have their own filters in listening. I was talking to someone this morning, and this person assumed I remembered what they did for a living. I did not. And I was distracted by something, and they literally said to me, "You're not paying attention." And I wasn't, but I just smiled and said, "Okay, what do I need to know now?" All right, let's go on to our Libras. Okay. All right. Whew. I know. These are trying times we're living in. Not for the faint of heart by any means. All right, Libra, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Here we go. All right, the 9 of Wands is upside down. This is about no longer guarding yourself, no longer focusing in on where you've been hurt, where you're potentially wounded, but allowing that to really recognize it somewhere. Something has come full circle, or things are as you can only be so guarded in a situation. I will, Queen Leo. I will either post it or I'll give you a update next week when we find out. Let me look and see, because this lack of guarding yourself feels almost like an integration of intuitiveness and an awareness of history. So when we know of other people's habits, let's say you know somebody who's always late. I'm not good with late people. That really bothers me. But if I know someone's going to be late, I'll tell a little white lie, and I'll be like, oh yeah, be here at 1. And then they'll be there at 2. And I'm not advocating little white lies, but what I am advocating is to know the landscape of what you're dealing with, and then to allow yourself not to be disappointed. And that way you don't have to guard yourself against, expectations of people or situations or things that mess you up. Let's look and see. What, the detox part? Are you talking about me and the mushrooms that I was giving her? Or I am giving her? I don't know. I don't know what that was. She's fine now. Okay, Mystique is upside down. Mystique is about charging ahead, so don't charge ahead. Fiona is offering help from above. Archangel Raphael is offering a healing, and Vanessa is reversed. It's about faith or fear, and how do you make your decisions? Oftentimes we don't realize how much we base and assess our situations based on our past. And this literally feels like it's about not doing that. Wherever Pluto is a generational planet. So it's really going to be more the aspects that Pluto makes in your natal chart that will tell you what's going on with Pluto personally. For me, I have Pluto at 5 degrees of Virgo. I have Venus at 10 degrees, but Pluto is in a trine with Saturn and with my moon. And so to me, my life is very much about transformation, about understanding the deeper psychological imprints that hold me hostage to a certain dynamic. So I think that there's the intricacies of the degrees and the nodes and how they all work, because Pluto represents bringing up the toxic waste, what has been in the dark and hidden, what makes us feel cold and alone, and brings it into a space of awareness. Okay, Libra, Mystique is being joined. Do not jump ahead. There is disruption ahead. There is something that you get to sort of, I almost feel like this is an observing of a situation. This is we're having emotional detoxing. We're having physical detoxing. We're having governmental detoxing. The world is in a detox, honestly. The stars are in a detox. Okay, Fiona is helping you with your value, your self-worth. The Queen is here, but she's reversed. Archangel Raphael is here, but this is with the King. Something has not been just. Something's not been fair for you. Okay, I want to offer this for my Libras. A lot of this spread is almost feels about turning away from something and not guarding or not protecting myself or not focusing in on the wars of previous chapters of my life. Mystique is saying not to charge ahead. There is some sort of disruption, and that disruption could very much have to do with whether or not you are in a receiving mode, whether or not you are feeling your value. Your ruling planet is starting this conjunction in the grand trine. When I say conjunction, I mean it's hovering around Mercury right now. Mercury's retrograding. Venus is moving forward. They're going to cross over each other, and both are part of a grand trine with Saturn and Jupiter in all the water signs. So somewhere Spirit is trying to illuminate something for you and how you are not honoring the self. The healing will come from a recognizing of where you have not held up the literally the laws of your own self-worth. Every once in a while, when we are taking care of ourselves, it's not about like having our hair done or wearing nice clothes. It's about knowing a situation that you're not emotionally ready to engage in. Maybe on another day you'd be in a better space because somewhere you're not emotionally lined up. And I want to offer it this way, because if this card represents not guarding yourself, then this sort of could represent I'm not necessarily disclosing my inner disruption to the other party or the other situation, but rather holding it within myself and then assessing whether or not I sit in enough value of myself to execute what I need to take care of myself, because you may not do that. Libra tends to default to the bigger picture, the cooperation, the giving up to other people. I can't help. It's like, I think about one of those things where you go to the holiday and, you are forced into some sort of behavior or some sort of posturing that isn't natural to you, but you keep that facade up so that you don't have to defend yourself. That's could be what that's about. It's a weird feeling here. It's a feeling of having an awareness that things are out of balance, but not trying to fix it and not trying to address it and taking care of yourself in the midst of it. It's almost like, oh, I see those two people. They're about to, go into some sort of weird political conversation. I'm going to go across the room and go talk to that person. It's like it very much feels about not avoidance, but just not walking in and trying to be the peacemaker, making the peace within yourself, Libra. There you go. All right, on to our final sign, our Scorpios. She's fine now. She's sleeping and she's fine. The good news about this little episode? She came to me when she was in distress. She didn't just sit behind me and be in distress. That's kind of a good thing, right? That means she's starting to trust me. All right, Scorpio, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, your tarot card this week is the Three of Cups, but it's upside down. This is a card very much that has to do with celebration, has to do with harvest. Now it's upside down. This would be, maybe it's not time to harvest. I think she knows that. I hope so. Lulu, how you doing down there, girl? All right. Let's see where we're going. First, we have the Fear card. Then we have the Goblin upside down. Then we have the Frog. And then we have the Hawk. There's also wisdom that's inferred in the Three of Cups. There's a representation of the three phases of the woman, the youth, maternal, and then the wisdom of age. And so I'm wondering here if maybe somehow with Mercury retrograding in your sign and now Venus that, you've been triggered of some kind. The angel Chantal is joining the Fear card. This is relationship and romance. We have Grace and Antoinette joining the Ego card upside down. We have the Frog being joined by Isabella, but Isabella's upside down. And then the Hawk is being joined by Xana. I want to offer this for my Scorpios because, to me, what this looks like is there's the potential that this week you have to be mindful of how you interact. Mars is your co-ruling planet. Mars is part of a T-square. Mars is on the great attractor. The Fear card leads me to believe that there's a potential of a reaction that's based on a story, that you're not sitting maybe in the everyday, you're not in your wisdom here. You're not in celebration. You're not looking at things from a joyful point of view. Your ego could potentially be triggered by someone else, but the ego card is upside down. So this is kind of like where I almost want to just be blunt and say, if you're a Scorpio, be mindful of what you want to pick in the way, be mindful of what you want to take on. Be mindful of what you want to argue about. Be mindful of with the people around you, whether you're being nitpicky or you're being too, I don't know, little challenging because I feel like you need to bring your defenses down and need to relax. You know, Isabella's saying the timing's not right to continue to pick at emotional things. You know, there are planets in your first house that are part of this trine, but it's a retrograde trine because this is a lack of protection. And here is looking at something from a bigger point of view and seeing the signs and the omens. You may have a conversation or something that needs to be talked about or needs to be addressed, but I don't think the timing is right for it. And if you bring it up now, you may find yourself in more challenges than you actually find. You may be completely, you may say something and think you're being as friendly and nice and as balanced as you can be, and the other party does not respond, or they overreact, and it just does not feel like it really works out well. It feels like somehow the other party turns things around and then victimizes themselves to whatever you're trying to get across. So Scorpio, I would be mindful of timing, not necessarily that you can't express what it is you want to express, but be sure that you do it with thought behind it, with whoever it is. It doesn't have to necessarily be a lover. It could be a loved one or someone that you love or that's hard to love. Relatives can sometimes be hard to love. So do I think that this is an easy time for us? No. Do I think that we're being tasked to continue to look so deeply into ourselves and on some level to honor ourselves and at the same time understand that the people that create disruptions around us oftentimes are the impetus or the seeds that help us to see our own evolution. So yeah, it's not easy times. All right, I'm going to go check on, now that she's calm and whatever happened here with this snot ball in her nose, and see about this and what to do about these kind of things. Thanks everybody for showing up today. It was a lovely group. I'll be back next week. It'll be after Thanksgiving, and I believe it will be December 1st or the 30th, something. That'll be the 30th, last day of the month. And then we go into the holidays. All right, everybody, have a wonderful week, and I will see you soon. Don't forget the contest. If you want to join in, email me what you think Lulu's breed is, and the person who emails first and is closest to the test results will get to ask me a free question or ask the cards a free question. All right, everybody, love you. Peace out. And Small Wildflowers, I hope your treatment goes well this week. Sending you lots of love. Bye-bye.